Good morning. Breaking news. Police say a body found some 40 days ago could very well be that of the nation's most wanted fugitive, Yoo Byung-un. The UN Security Council unanimously adopts a resolution demanding international access to the site of the downed plane in Ukraine, calling for a probe into the incident. On IT Plus, these items are the latest in high-tech security devices to keep your home safe. And fun in the sun is all good, but there are a few side effects involved. Find out what you can do on Korea Today, Tuesday, July 22nd, 2014.
From Arirang News, this is Korea Today.
And thank you for joining us on this Tuesday morning. I'm Kim Young alongside Kim Min-jung and Oh Jin-ju.
Good morning, everyone. We are going to begin this morning with some breaking news overnight.
Right. The suspected body of the de facto owner of the sunken Jeju ferry has been discovered in Suncheon, Jeollanam-do province, and it's been 40 days since it was discovered.
That's right. We'll get to that breaking news in a moment. But first, let's get a check on today's top story. The presidents of South Korea and Portugal have agreed to enhance bilateral cooperation in renewable energy and tourism. President Park Geun-hye sat down with Portuguese President Aníbal Cavaco Silva, who was on a three-day official visit to Korea to discuss ways to strengthen their economic ties and seek joint venture opportunities in areas that the two countries find mutually beneficial.
양국이 신성장 동력으로 적극 추진 중인 신재생 에너지 분야에서의 기술, 인력, 정보 부문의 협력을 구체화하는 기반이 된다는 점에서 그 의의가 크다고 생각합니다.
The two sides also agreed to jointly contribute to the economic and industrial development of Portuguese-speaking nations, including Brazil, Mozambique, and East Timor. The Portuguese leader said there is large potential in forming strategic partnership to enter some of these third world countries, as Portugal has knowledge and information about these nations. President Cavaco Silva is the first Portuguese leader invited for an official visit to Seoul.
Earlier this morning, Suncheon police confirmed in a press conference that a heavily decomposed body found some 40 days ago in a plum field in Suncheon is in fact the fugitive de facto owner of Cheongjin Marine Company, the Sewol Ferry's operator. The body of the 73-year-old Yoo Byung-un was found on June 12th in Suncheon, Jeollanam-do province. Analysis confirmed the identity of the body. Officials say DNA samples and fingerprints from his home office are a match. Exact cause of death has not yet been determined due to the advanced decomposition of the corpse. Details will be announced following a second autopsy. For over 2 months, a nationwide manhunt has been ongoing for the capture of Yoo, while his eldest son, 44-year-old Taegyun, still remains at large. Prosecutors believe Yoo's mismanagement of the ferry's operator, including embezzlement, led to the overloading of cargo and lax safety oversight that led to the April 16th sinking, leaving more than 300 people dead or missing, mostly high school students.
Korea's new finance minister met with the central bank chief on Monday for their first official meeting in a closed-door session. Seoul's finance minister cum deputy prime minister Choi Kyung-hwan and Bank of Korea Governor Lee Ju-yeol share their views on the growing downside risks to the economy due to sluggish consumer spending, but they did not spell out whether the economy is in need of an interest rate cut. Despite speculation that the newly appointed finance minister would push the central bank to cut the base rate to revive the economy and the housing market, Che told reporters that there was no discussion on rate policy meeting. During the hour-long meeting, the finance ministry is set to announce measures to prop up the economy later this week.
And today is the second and final day of a joint search and rescue exercise being held by South Korea, the United States, and Japan in waters off Korea's southern Jeju Island. Now, the naval exercise has sparked controversy here in Korea, as it's the first taking place after Japan's move to alter its pacifist defense policy. To tell us more about the changing diplomatic dynamics in the region, we're now joined by Dr. Kim Cheol-woo from the Korea Institute of Defense Analysis. Welcome to the program.
Good morning.
Now, as I mentioned, the reason why civic groups and many other Koreans are unhappy with this exercise is because it's the first taking place after Japan made moves to alter its pacifist defense policy. So what's the significance of this joint exercise this time around?
The significance of this exercise is very meaningful in the overall security dynamics in this region. Particularly, the United States' basic security strategy is centering on as we know, against the rise of Chinese influence in this area. So, although we are facing the very hard, difficult relationship, somewhat icy mood between Seoul and Tokyo, security-wise, trilateral cooperation among Seoul, Washington, and Tokyo is a basic backbone, not just for the United States strategy, but even to South Korea against North Korea's very problematic missile and nuclear development. So this search and rescue exercise, although it's a very humanitarian exercise, but behind all this exercise is correlated with the icy mood between, interestingly, China and North Korea, and on top of the Seoul and Japan's very reluctant relationship because of the historical baggage.
Right. But North Korea has strongly condemned the joint military exercise between Seoul and Washington, which took place last week. But it seems to be staying quite quiet this time for this trilateral exercise. Does this have anything to do with the closer relationship?
Yes, as we all know, Japan is easing on its own pressure or sanctions over North Korea in return for Pyongyang's investigation regarding Japanese abduction issues. So I think its very nuance is very sensitive to the regional dynamics, particularly North Korea's very favorable approach to Prime Minister Abe and his comment is very interesting. Compared to the rhetorical bombardment against the arrival of the United States carrier George Washington at Busan. So North Korea is trying to justify its own nuclear and missile development program with pinpointing the joint military exercise just between Seoul and Washington, not just the Japanese new somewhat aggressive posturing on this issue.
And South Korea and China agreed to work towards setting up a military hotline between the two countries' defense ministries by the end of this year. And there are significant shifts in diplomatic dynamics among countries in Northeast Asia. For example, stronger ties between South Korea and China, Japan and North Korea, and Japan and the United States. What could we expect in the future in terms of these relations?
My understanding is that we are entering into the new chapter of this textbook of security, in particular in Northeast Asia. Hotline is it's been done before, like a neighbor or military to military hotline is not that significant. But with the milestoning, very critical visit by the President Xi Jinping earlier this month was the starting point of the new security relations. So even Washington is jittery to see what will happen between Beijing and Seoul. Are they closer too much to the level of intimate relationship, or they are keeping the strategic positioning, rebalancing, Seoul version of rebalancing among those major powers in this area. So for the foreseeable future, there will be lots of diplomatic or military exchanges will happen in this region. Particularly Chinese somewhat very assertive wooing toward Korea will be intensified. The hotline is a real hotline to level up the not just economic relations, but even military, high-level military exchanges, was a lot of strategic discussions, or to share the common interest in this area. So on top of this structure, we have to see the China and the United States relationship in this region. So with the new emergence of the action by the Japan, or on top of the North Korea's very active peace offensive, will mix up in these coming Asian Games. That's a very typical focal point we have to see.
And moving on to South Korea and Japan relations, high-level talks on the issue of the so-called comfort women will take place tomorrow, I believe. And what stance should the South Korean government take in this rapidly changing diplomatic dynamics in the region when it comes to the comfort women issue?
So, the current Park Geun-hye administration's attitude and principle is very steady and step by step. So Park Geun-hye administration wants to see the sincere apology from the Japanese government, Shinzo Abe government. So without that, we don't see the new development in this area. But security-wise, we can keep the trilateral cooperation among three countries. So I think in this kind of official dialogue is very beneficial to find a new way to find. So without any summit meeting, with the Japan's visit 5 times to the President Putin, or he's likely to visit to even Pyongyang, will contradict or contrast the icy mood between Seoul and Tokyo. So I think those top officers to support Park Geun-hye administration or Abe's administration will seek the new breaking point to set up a new relations to fix up these somewhat icy relations on this arena.
So balancing, maintaining the balance among these countries and their diplomatic relations would be a very important challenge for the Park Geun-hye administration. Thank you, Dr. Kim Cheru, for your time today.
Thank you.
Good morning. It's time to run through the front pages of your newspapers. And a top local story on the papers this morning is the discovery of a corpse whose body is believed to be of the de facto owner of the sunken Seolo ferry. So let's begin with this breaking news over on 중앙일보's top story. And as you heard earlier on in the program's headlines, police believe that a man found dead last month could be fugitive Yoo Byung-eun, the elusive billionaire who had owned the Seolo ferry that sank on April 16. So the headline says, body of what is presumed to be Yoo Byung-eun found in Suncheon, that's in South Jeollado province. Now, if you recall, Yoo Byung-eun is the patriarch of the family behind the Cheongjin Marine Company and a leading member of the Evangelical Baptist Church of Korea, who has been on the run since the ferry disaster. Now, if you take a look at the sub-headline, it also says that the body was already in an advanced state of decay when discovered at a field on June 12th, and investigators have noticed similarities between the personal DNA profile of the dead man and that of Yoo's arrested older brother. Now let's move on to another domestic headline over on Gyeongyang Shinmun. And this one beneath the picture here, the Gyeonggi Provincial Office of Education has reported to the Ministry of Education on the insufficiency of Dongsan Christian High School as an autonomous private high school following its assessment on the school. The header here says, opinion on revoking designation of autonomous private high school. Now, meanwhile, if you take a look at the article close up, the subheadline shows that the private high schools, of course, want to keep their autonomy. In fact, principals of 25 self-governing private high schools in Seoul held a press conference yesterday afternoon to protest the newly appointed Seoul superintendent's effort to take away their freedom. Hence, the controversy may even be embroiled in a legal battle in the coming days. Now let's go to 동아일보 for a look at this story here on the side. Now, this is about the greenhouse gas emissions trading scheme, or the cap-and-trade system in Korea, which I did also talk about last week. Now, this article is titled Cap-and-Trade Program Postponed. If we take a closer look at the article, following last week's development on Finance Minister Choi Kyung-hwan's view that the system holds various problems, Prime Minister Chung Hyung-won has also agreed that the scheme needs to be thoroughly reviewed and revised. The program was to be enforced this coming January, but as we sort of expected, the government has decided to postpone implementing this cap-and-trading program, and the paper says that it will probably sometime be in the latter half of next year at the earliest. And let's wrap up with a look at some economy news on the Mail Business newspaper. And this top story is called Plans to Build Leisure City as Big as Gangnam-gu in Saemangeum. Now, Saemangeum lays at the mouths of the Dongjingang and Mangyonggang rivers on the coast of Jeollabuk-do province. It's just south of the estuary of the Kumgang River, and an immense tourist leisure city is to be constructed in this area. The Korean government is now working to lure in foreign investments on this project to transform about 400 square kilometers of this newly reclaimed land into a multi-purpose mega city equipped with high-tech industries, educational facilities, research facilities, coupled with residence and commercial accommodation areas as well. Now, Chinese investors are in particular eyeing to build a China city in the Saemangeum area, which will be a designated China-themed commercial land in the artificially created economic area, along with Gyeonggi-do province and Incheon Free Economic Zone. And that was a look at your newspaper headlines for this Tuesday. Now, coming up are the stock numbers from Monday.
So another muggy day has begun here in Seoul, but we are expecting some rain later today.
That's right. It'll be a big break from that humidity that's been lingering in the air. And for more on the weather, we're joined by Chun Sung-cho.
Good morning to you, Sung-cho.
Good morning, guys. Strong sunlight and humid air. This sticky, uncomfortable weather has been annoying us for quite a while now, and today's no exception. The Korea Meteorological Administration issued a heat wave advisory in many regions across the country, such as Gyeonggi-do, Gangwon-do, Chungcheongbuk-do, and Gyeongsang-Nambuк-do provinces. With heat index values soaring up to 48 degrees Celsius, people are advised to minimize outdoor activities and drink water as often as possible to avoid heat exhaustion or heat stroke. But good news is that starting in the late afternoon, things will change quite a bit as a monsoon front will start affecting the peninsula. The central regions are expected to receive some precipitation, and this will grow stronger overnight and continue on to tomorrow. And with that, let's take a closer look at today's forecast. Daegu and Gangneung's midday highs are the hottest at sizzling 35 degrees. Many other cities will hit the 30s as well, and Seoul and Busan will be the coolest at 29 degrees Celsius. Monsoon rain that begins this afternoon will stay with us on and off until the end of this weekend, so it looks like you should keep your rain gear ready with you for some time. This is all from me with the weather forecast. Back to you, Minjung.
The United Nations has moved to unanimously adopt a resolution condemning the downing of the Malaysian passenger jet that killed all 298 people on board. We'll take a closer look at this and other global news with our Eunice Kim, who joins us from the News Center. Good morning to you, Eunice.
Good morning, Min-jung.
What more can you tell us?
Well, it was a measure proposed by Australia and called for a, quote, full, thorough and independent international investigation into the plane crash. It also demanded of the pro-Russia separatists controlling the crash site to allow monitors safe and unrestricted access to it and a halt to moving around victims' remains, belongings, and debris. Finally, the resolution called for an end to military activities between the Ukrainian government and pro-Russia separatists in the region. The resolution was signed by all 15 members of the Security Council, including Russia, which had been pushing for the council to name the International Civil Aviation Organization rather than Ukrainian authorities as the lead in the ongoing probe. The final resolution fell short of that, but there were some wording changes made in compromise.
And during that UN Security Council meeting, the Dutch foreign minister, I believe, expressed his country's willingness to take a leadership role in the investigations.
Right. The Netherlands, as you know, was the country most hit, at least in terms of casualty count, nearly 200, specifically 193 of its citizens on down Flight 17 were Dutch in that flight that took off from Schiphol Airport. Now, Dutch Foreign Minister Frans Timmermans said the Netherlands could be an unbiased third party and will not rest until justice is done and the body is taken back home. This as Dutch forensic experts have begun inspecting the remains of the victims recovered by pro-Russian separatists who are also, of course, suspected of shooting down that plane last Thursday. The Dutch investigators demanded from the rebels that the heavily guarded train cars holding at least some of the recovered bodies be sealed and allowed to leave within hours. The plane's black box, on the other hand, remains securely in separatist control. A spokesperson said Russian President Vladimir Putin did promise his full cooperation in handling the case, as well as allowing unrestricted access to the site.
Let's turn next to Eunice to the conflict in the Middle East, which really shows no signs of abating. Monday marked 2 weeks since the launch of Israeli airstrikes, and this time tank shells struck a hospital in central Gaza. Tell us more.
Right. Palestine's health ministry said they hit the third floor of that hospital, which housed operating theaters and an intensive care unit. The Israeli military said it was targeting a cache of anti-tank missiles close to the hospital, but that strike did end up killing at least 5 people and wounding some 70 others, including medical staff. Now, this as the Palestinian death toll has now well surpassed 500, a majority of them civilians. More than 100,000 Gazans have been displaced, according to UN figures. UN Chief Ban Ki-moon and U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry are set to meet in Cairo today to push for an end to the bloodiest conflict seen between Israel and Hamas in just over 5 years. And in a breaking development, Min-jung, the U.S. State Department has issued a travel warning for Israel and the West Bank, discouraging any non-essential travel to those areas, in addition to the existing warning on the Gaza Strip. Now, this as global concern is growing on the humanitarian crisis unfolding in Gaza. Thousands of demonstrators expressed their outrage against the Israeli offensive in recent days in cities stretching from London to Tokyo, Buenos Aires to Kashmir. And with that, we'll wrap your look at the global headlines we are following this morning.
And still ahead, during vacation season, it's perhaps no surprise that the number of home burglaries rises. Keep your home safe indoors and outdoors with the remote control home blackbox system and with a personalized facial recognition system. Details on IT Plus.
And in this sweltering heat and humidity, many people might try to find some refuge indoors somewhere. But why not culture yourself. Why not get some culture involved with it? Now, if you don't like musicals and you don't like classical music, you might like dance or one or the other. So we have all three. Joining us is Im Yoon-hee to tell us about it. Good morning.
That's right. Good morning, Young. So here in Seoul, we've seen the release of yet another big musical. Now, this is also a Broadway. I'm expected to feed the musical craze we've been seeing this summer. But along with that, like Young mentioned, I have a couple other performances for those who have maybe had their musical fill. Take a look.
It's a musical where the singing is just as important as the dancing. 42nd Street was first converted to a Broadway musical in the 80s and has been shown since on stages around the world. Set during the height of the Great Depression, this tap dancing bonanza fills the stage and air with its upbeat and memorable music. The musical made its debut in Korea in 1996 and was an instant hit, now being shown in the country for the 11th time.
People can always relate to stories of dreams regardless of the time period. This performance is something that will get everyone's heart racing with the tap dancing and energy.
Beethoven is a pillar in classical music, tackled by many conductors around the world. And now Korea's own conductor of the people is showcasing Beethoven's Symphony No. 5 in C minor. Kim Nan-tae has been striving to connect the Korean public with Western classical music. And in this second installment of the series of Beethoven performances, Kim brings Beethoven's most well-known pieces to the stage. The Korea National Contemporary Dance Company is one of Korea's leaders when it comes to modern and contemporary dance. Their latest performance, Deter Space, is set to hit the stage later this week, with a nostalgic performance that aims to bring back a trend seen during the 80s and 90s, where small theaters, sometimes called 공강사랑, were the hot places to perform.
All right, the contemporary dance piece looks great, but the Beethoven performance, you mentioned that it's the second one. Can you tell us more about that?
Right, so this is a really interesting story. Conductor Kim is actually really pushing to be considered the people's conductor. He really wants to bring this Western classical music to the general public. And so through this concert series, which they're calling Beethoven Vacation, he really wants to bring these Beethoven concert series to them. So this is the second installment, and later this summer you'll see two more.
Okay, it seems that the Beethoven, the classical music concert is a big scale production, as well as the musical too. Now it looks very big to just believe that it's a private production. Is it by a large conglomerate perhaps?
Right, so this is also being pushed by CJ Entertainment. They are really spearheading the whole expansion of the Korean wave, or Hallyu, here in Korea. They're using the musical to push the Korean wave across the world. And so through these musicals, they've seen immense success, and they will continue to see success. And since they're such a big conglomerate, they're really enjoying the ability to create these collaborations. So they also have a collaboration for this musical with the cast of the musical, along with a K-pop jazz band called Winter Plays. So some unique, some fun plays here and there.
All right, well, sounds great. Thank you for that report.
Always a pleasure.
And stay with us, because still to come on Korea Today, ultraviolet rays, it can do a number on your skin. We're going to find out more about that with our two doctors joining us in the studio on Korea Today. Now, it could cause a ton of skin diseases, and you may not even have heard of some of these. Stay tuned for facts about how ultraviolet rays affect skin, including allergies to vitiligo on Health Check.
All right, time for news sum up. A world-renowned singer, Rain, recently received a Catholic baptism, and that's one of the keywords trending online this morning.
Right, and that decision was influenced by his girlfriend and devout Catholic Kim Tae-hee.
Aren't they so cute?
Right. For more on this and other keywords, let's go over to our Sami-sarang in the digital room. Good morning.
Good morning, guys. You know, some people are saying they can already hear the wedding bells ringing, because present at his baptism ceremony was not only Kim Tae-hee, but her mother as well. We'll just have to wait and see. Meanwhile, girl group Sister makes a comeback with a fun and flirty song titled Touch My Body. And the so-called apartels, short for apartment and office styles, are on the rise. They're essentially your run-of-the-mill office styles, but with features normally found in apartments, such as verandas, tennis courts, and gyms. Now on to our next issue. We can already do a lot of things through Kakao Talk. We can send videos, make calls, send photos, play games, you name it. Soon, we'll be able to transfer money as well. Let's take a look. So here's the lowdown on how to use Bank Wallet Kakao. First, you install the app on your phone and then link up your bank account to the app. A virtual wallet is then created from which you can send up to about $100 per day to other Kakao Talk users. The country's financial regulators, Kakao Talk, and the 14 participating banks are all working together right now on the final touches, and the system will be out in full force by September. And on to our last item. Ever since they put out that new rule saying no standing on red-colored buses, a lot of people have been left stranded each morning as they wait bus after bus for an empty seat. Meanwhile, others have looked to subway trains as an alternative. In fact, get this, an additional 36,000 people per day take the subways now as a direct result of the new safety rule. So a lot of these trains have been absolutely jam-packed every morning ever since. So to counter this, the Transport Ministry has now added more trains and buses during the morning and evening rush hours. Some 20 trains and 50 buses have now been added to ease people's commute. And with that, it's a wrap up for today's edition of your Daily News Sum Up.
With the summer vacation season in full swing, there has been an increase in burglaries targeting vacant homes. But security technology using smartphone apps that remotely control conditions inside the house, known as home blackbox systems, are reducing concerns about home safety. Ho Sun-hwa is out enjoying her summer getaway, but she receives an alert on her smartphone. After checking her handset, she discovers an intruder and immediately activates the emergency button, requesting assistance.
When I leave the house to go on vacation or visit our in-laws, we can set the security mode and not have to worry about the place. That's what I like about it.
The Smart Home Black Box allows people to remotely turn the lights on and off using a smartphone and also cut off the gas supply if there is a leak. While He is away, her acquaintance has visited her home. Using the remote door opening system, she can issue a temporary passcode and let her friend indoors. There are other technologies that are being used to keep homes safe during the summer holiday. So Young-ju has chosen a facial recognition system. The door opens automatically when the homeowner looks into the terminal screen for less than a second.
There are a lot of different security systems such as fingerprint recognition, but I think using your facial image is the best because it's unique to you. That's why I feel like it would be the safest.
What happens, though, if someone tries to break in? The system records the intruder's face and sends an image to the owner's smartphone and also stores it in the system. But just how accurate is this system? We look at a system developed using homegrown technology by a company called 5GT.
Other products had trouble recognizing the face if you wear glasses, hats, or accessories. But we have resolved those issues. And also, the system is designed to identify changes that people experience as they age.
Existing systems identify facial images from photos as well, but this system does not allow that and blocks their entrance. Also in dark places, it uses an infrared camera to identify movements, which makes it possible for use in apartment complexes as well. In order to recognize the face, a regular color lens and infrared camera are installed. It takes 40,000 different types of photos of the face and creates an algorithm that is stored as data in this system. It also uses biometrics, such as blinking and other features from the eyes, to create a more accurate basis for facial recognition.
Each person has a number of unique characteristics on their face, especially around the eyes. The system extracts features from the eyes, nose, and mouth, and creates a histogram with it. It matches things up with a database and identifies who you are.
Using smart IT technology, there are more convenient and effective ways to keep your home safe while enjoying your vacation.
You know, I just thought it was cool enough having a fingerprint scanner to open your doors, but technology is surely evolving. And joining us to talk more about facial recognition technology is Marketing Manager Kwak Mi-kyung from 5GT. Good morning.
Good morning. Nice to meet you.
All right, so there are facial recognition technology. It's all over the world and it's been developing fast. Now, tell us about your company and about our homegrown technology.
In existing face recognition devices, there are three inherent weaknesses. The first weakness is that devices cannot update to capture the images as time goes by. People are getting or losing weight and getting old. And the second weakness is that how people's heights can affect the angle of captured image. And third, devices do not work in dark. However, 5GT has overcome those weaknesses with the patent technology.
Okay.
UFaceKey, our brand name, can continue updating facial changes, and it also can handle angle changes with an angle of 19 degrees. And also, to compensate for dark environment, we use infrared lighting.
Okay, so infrared lighting, you can see over here that there are these little infrared light bulbs over here which help do that. So ambient lighting as well as certain fluctuations in a person's face, whether they gain weight or not. These are some of the things that this technology is compensating for. So let's try this out. So what we did was, it was really simple. All we have to do was, it took 10 seconds, press a button, press a passcode, and then basically scan my face into this. So if you just go ahead and do that, you can see that you do get access. It does grant access to the user right away. And it does work with glasses as well, right?
Yeah, that's too bright.
Okay. There you go. We scanned her face on there too.
Young, you should try it. I want to see you try.
Let me try that.
I will try again.
Okay, let me try that.
It's too bright.
I must
Young
do this.
happens
I think
to
I know
look
the system
hot
better
in
than
glasses too. Let's see this.
There you go.
All right. Is it recognizing your face?
I think it's because I'm smiling. Okay, but
actually, it is working. Oh yeah.
All right, so it does work like that, and so it does work with whether you're wearing glasses or not. Best case scenario, I think it would be best if the user is.
Probably have too much lighting going on.
That's right. That's right.
Too.
The other thing that you might be wondering is, what if someone has a picture? We saw in the report someone with a picture, but we decided to use a video. They actually made me sit here and take this for about a good 30 seconds or so. So we're going to try it with that and see if that works, right? All right. No, it doesn't even come into play actually. So
it does work.
There's a little circle there, and let's try to scan it. It just automatically shuts you out.
Yeah, since the face key is based on images taken from infrared light, so it does not respond to color photos and video images, and also it's also pinpoints 40,000 facial features so per person by looking at the shape of eyes, nose, mouth, and entire face. So so we can reduce the error rates.
Okay, well that sounds all technical, but all I want to do is just get in my house and not leave me outside my house without a key to get in, right? Okay, so I understand voltage surges are an issue when it comes to electrical devices. So how does 5GT compensate for that?
When battery levels drop below plus minus 15 kilovolt, it works safely and securely as well. Also, this technology has passed the secure test administered by one of the global securities, which will release the facial recognition service in September.
Well, it sounds good. I guess starting in September, we'll see more and more of these things. Thank you for joining us this morning.
Yeah.
And we hope to see more advancements in the near future.
Yeah.
Thanks again.
Thank you.
And a good Tuesday morning to you all as we kick things off with the 2018 Pyeongchang Winter Olympics, as the organizing committee for the Winter Games got the shocking news that their chief organizer has resigned from his post. The 67-year-old Kim Jin-sun, who was in his second term as the head of the organizing committee, resigned from his post on Monday after a press conference. Now, he stated that with the Winter Games less than 4 years away, the organizing committee needs new leadership and new changes in the preparations. Now, Kim was a former governor of Gangwon province and has been regarded as one of the more important figures in getting the Winter Olympics in Korea. And now over to some brighter news here in the nation. Marine boy Park Tae-hwan, who's been competing at the national trials in Kimcheon, won yet another event, earning a ticket to every event for the upcoming Asian Games in Incheon. Now on Monday, the 25-year-old Olympic medalist finished first in the men's 400-meter individual medley as he won his 6th event during the national team trials. Now with that, Park Tae-hwan earns a ticket to all 6 events for the Incheon Asian Games, including the 800-meter team relay. Of course, no surprise here, he was also named the event MVP as he hopes to surpass 3 gold medals that he's won in 2006 and 2010 during the Asian Games in September. And now moving over to the South Korean national football team, this time as the Korea Football Association is currently going through a rough patch at the moment and trying to make some major changes to the association and the team. Now, with the first 2 A matches taking place on September 5th and 8th against Venezuela and Uruguay, the KFA stated that they might even go with an interim head coach, adding that they want to carefully choose their next permanent head coach. Meanwhile, with the KFA going through a change within the association as well, an official stated that the new technical committee director will be chosen in the near future. And of course, that's going to wrap it up for me. This has been SJ. Have a great rest of the day and see you guys again for your sports needs.
With more exposure to the sun in the summer comes greater concern and interest in potential skin conditions. Strong ultraviolet rays and scorching temperatures can cause various skin conditions such as freckles, blemishes, and age spots. But recently, the number of patients with vitiligo and sun allergies are also on the rise. According to Korea's National Health Insurance Service, the number of those with vitiligo has increased by 17.5% compared to that of numbers 5 years ago. And in general, each year in July and August, the number of vitiligo patients reaches an annual high. Vitiligo is a disease that causes the loss of color in your skin as the cells that produce melanin die. It creates white patches on your hands, feet, knees, and around the mouth in various sizes. If the condition becomes severe, it can cause the whitening of hair or a change in color in the retina and iris. A sun allergy usually causes conditions around parts that are exposed to the sun, such as the neck, chest, back of the hands, and legs. Patients may suffer from itchy rashes or small bumps and blisters that can be very painful. We look at 2 conditions, vitiligo and sun allergies caused by UV rays, which get more severe in the summer.
So strong sun rays could mean more than just a bad sunburn. And to tell us more about these skin conditions, we have two doctors joining us, Dr. Alice Hyung-Dan from Samsung Medical Center and Dr. Nam Dong-woo from Kyung University Korean Medicine Center. Good morning to both of you.
Good morning.
Now, let's start with why. Why do people get sun allergies when they're under the sun for a long time?
Well, it's an autoimmune disease, so for people with imbalance within their organ functions will be more vulnerable. The patient population is mainly women in their 20s or their 40s, and many of these patients have cold hands or cold feet. So we can assume that they have circulation problems due to certain imbalance of organ functions. And the heat stimulation or the light stimulation will trigger an overreaction of the immune system, and that will develop into sun allergy symptoms.
Cold hands and cold feet. I just happen to fall right under the category in between 20s and 40s, right? All right, well, what else?
Well, so sunlight causes changes in the skin cells, and these changed skin cells are then thought of by the body as being foreign or no longer belonging to the body. And so the immune system will start to attack these skin cells in people with sun allergies. There are 5 different categories of skin allergies or sun allergies. 4 of them, there are underlying causes. The most common category, however, is called idiopathic. In other words, there's no known cause, and polymorphic light eruption is the most common form.
But Dr. Dan, not all people have it when they were born. We're not born with it. So like some people start having it suddenly. Why is that?
Well, what you're just describing actually is very common for allergies overall. Half of all allergies have their onset in adulthood, and the same is true for sun allergies. We're not exactly sure what the underlying mechanisms are, but as Dr. Nam was saying, polymorphic light eruption, the most common form of sun allergy, tends to typically start in women between the ages of 20 and 40 years of age. As I said, we don't know what the changes are in the body that cause the allergies to suddenly appear at that age, but it is more common than you might think.
All right, a bit more common there, but at the same time, I think of all the things to be allergic to. Now, sun allergies, that's got to be tough, but we'll take a look at some of the treatment and also the options that you do have if you are suffering from sun allergies in both Western and Korean traditional medicine.
To get a better assessment of the patient's skin condition, in Western medicine, a test using an ultraviolet examination light, also known as a wood lamp, is first conducted.
Sun allergies refer to all skin conditions that stem from photosensitivity. When people are exposed to the sun, it causes red spots, blistering, and other conditions that can come with extreme itchiness.
For treatment, steroid creams are used to halt the allergic reaction in the immune system and treat the infection and itchiness. In Korean medicine, the emphasis is put on rectifying the immune system, so a test to determine the person's body type is carried out. First, using acupuncture, the heat is sent downwards while the cold is pushed up. Also, in order to reduce the sensitivity of the skin and improve its resistance, herbal medicine that can help boost weakened organs is prescribed.
Like Young mentioned, it's really quite unfortunate if you're allergic to the sun, because the sun is around you 24/7, unlike peanuts, for example, which you can stay away from, right? Is there a way to prevent this sun allergies?
Right. For some people who have known triggers for the sun allergy, in other words, a certain chemical or drug, avoiding that trigger using a substitute or an alternative medication would be the best way for dealing with it in that situation. Some people get sun allergies when they are exposed to a large amount of sunlight all of a sudden. For example, in the middle of winter in Korea, if someone goes to vacation in sunny Guam, they may get the sun allergy in that kind of situation. The treatment would be to get incrementally larger doses of sunlight in advance of that trip so that the skin can get used to sun exposure. Also using sun protection in the form of high SPF sunblock, hats, clothing, using UV tinting in the windows of your car and home. Those are all ways to protect against the sun. Also avoiding going out between 10 a.m. and 4 p.m. Those are the peak UV hours. Also can be helpful. There's also a substance called polypodium leucotomus extract. And this is derived from a tropical fern plant. And this has been shown to have sun protective qualities. It's marketed under the brand name HelioCare, and some people call it sunblock in a bottle, something that you can try.
Kind of like aloe vera, maybe?
No, it's a little bit different. It's an antioxidant, actually.
Well, yeah, I'd imagine in Korean medicine you would have some kind of herb, something that could help you prevent sun allergies.
Yeah, we have a lot of herbs, but the main target of our treatment is to normalize the balance of the organ functions. So we will have to use medicines that will normalize the immune system. And maybe tea, like green tea or black tea or rooibos tea, which are very effective to clean out the oxygen-free radicals in our body, will also help.
But Dr. Nam, I believe that a certain amount of sunlight is really crucial for your bones and your in preventing
Vitamins.
cancer, for example. Are there any supplement for those who can't be exposed to sunlight due to the sun allergy?
Yes, as we all know, sunlight has many positive effects. It stimulates the circulation of our body, and it enhances our immune system, and it prevents depression or cancer. And it also stimulates the production of vitamin D. So if you have sun allergies, you will have to take vitamin D supplements. And you will have to try controlling the lighting of your house to maintaining the normal life cycle of daily life.
Okay, some useful tips there. Now, another skin condition that we saw in the report, the whitening of the skin, called the vitiligo, I believe.
Yeah, I pronounced it wrong in the beginning. It's vitiligo, but
it's a difficult word. Now,
right
tell us more about why this happens.
So vitiligo is considered an autoimmune condition as well. In other words, there's a kind of sabotage going on in your own body. Your body is killing off some of your own cells, the cells called melanocytes. These melanocytes are making the pigment that give your skin its normal color. We don't know exactly why vitiligo happens, but we do know that there is an association with other autoimmune conditions, such as autoimmune thyroid disease, and these tend to occur later on in life.
How about in Korean medicine? What do we see it as?
Well, this condition became very famous after Michael Jackson stated that his whitening of the skin was due to this disease. And well, this is an acquired disease, so it can happen in later time of the lifespan. And in Korean medicine, we also see it as an autoimmune disease. So air population, smoking, alcohol, or instant food and stress can all be a trigger for this disease.
Okay, so multiple reasons why this condition can occur. Now, let's take a look at some treatment options that are available.
Light therapy exposes the affected areas to UV rays that help the skin balance out to normal skin tones. The Ultra Excimer laser can be used on any part of the body, and compared to other laser therapy, it can bring out good results with concentrated doses. In Korean medicine, pigment regenerative acupuncture is prescribed to bring back the cells that produce pigments. In addition, deep tissue heat treatment is used to stimulate the patient's metabolism and boost the immune system to trigger skin regeneration. Not only that, but a medicine containing natural antioxidant enzymes is applied on the area of treatment to block the active oxygen that destroys melanin and assist with pigment regeneration.
Now, it's amazing how you can regenerate pigments using acupuncture. I think that's something that you wouldn't think of. And the acupuncture area...
It's painful, for sure.
It does look a little bit uncomfortable, but the area that you're treating is completely different from where you actually receive the acupuncture. Tell us about how it works.
Well, the main target of acupuncture treatment is to normalize the organ functions. So the balance of the organs will be very important. So also the acupuncture needles will injure the malfunctioning cells to stimulate production of normal cells, which will produce pigments.
So are there any possibility that vitiligo will reoccur after treatment?
Yes, as a matter of fact. So vitiligo only rarely gets cured completely and permanently.
Thank you. My wife has a little spot right here, and it's not going away.
Right. So it is a lifelong condition for the vast majority of patients. And even though you can get significant results using the treatments some of the treatments that we saw, there's always a chance that it can recur or spread later on.
Okay. So there's always foundations, so just tap that on there.
Right. But do give us some tips on how to treat, or maybe some home remedies.
Right. Well, so the first tip is similar for vitiligo as for sun allergies. So avoiding sun exposure is very important. The reason for that is the vitiligenous skin. So the white patches can burn very easily. And if you tan, that tends to enhance the contrast between the white patches and the normal skin, and that can make vitiligo appear worse. If you can talk with your dermatologist about getting a good, like you said, a foundation, a camouflage, a concealer, that can also help as well. And then avoiding non-medical tattoos is very important. There's a process called kemnerization, and the damage to the skin caused by those needles can actually make new vitiligenous skin patches occur. So that needs to be taken into account.
I think we have about 30 seconds left. Just quick tips, please.
Well, fruits with rich vitamins, and also nuts with containing unsaturated fatty acids, which can also help.
Okay, so some foods to eat there. Thank you so much for both of you for coming out and sharing your insight.
You're welcome. Thank you.
All right, well, that just about does it for this edition of Korea Today.
And we'll see you back here tomorrow morning at 7 a.m.
Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.